You're up to something. You're up to something, eh?
Yep. Yeah.
I think Michael's going to interrupt us. Isn't he? He's going to interrupt us. What are you up to? You're up to something. I can see it.
Yep.
We're up to something. There's an engine.
There's a block.
There's a block. What's the plan?
Some shims.
Yep.
Dirty oil pump.
And a dirty oil pump. Possibly because we put a brand spanking new oil pump on this. This new one. Which is quite good because I've only got one left.
What's
that? That's my second one, so that's number 2. Kelvin, Jason from the Cartoon Company in New Zealand. We pulled this block apart quite a while ago. It's been off to the machine shop. It's come back and now it's time for us to put it together. Somewhere in there was some other crap happened worldwide that we're not going to talk about. We're going to just focus on a couple of things when we put this together. The cam timing and the scissor gears, we're going to focus on that. And there may be a couple of particular videos just on those topics, which you might not see in the main one. And that's the real big focus. And running no power steer pump. We're going to make up a bracket for that too. Jace is going to pull the spanners.
This is razor blade at the moment.
Razor blades. I'm going to be the run around, clean the parts, get everything ready, prep stuff up.
So you know you're going to be a hold up.
I'm going to be the hold up. Yeah. We've got...
I saw you assembled. That makes it easy. I had to put that together. It's already done.
You happy? So we've got a block with numbers all over it. So that's been sized. Bearings have been checked. It was acided for the bores because there were some marks in it. So they are clean and shiny now. They do what I do. Right, end up riding on the block so you get everything in the right hole. Get in trouble when you put it in the wrong hole. Brand spanking new oil pump. And we should have actually talked about that.
It's new. It's not old and dirty like that one.
It's also off a later model engine. It's a VVTi oil pump. Something fell out.
Piece through a rod.
And we've got 2 cylinder heads that are all assembled as well. See this hole here? See that? Right there? Yeah. See how it's nicely machined?
Yeah.
They actually have a block heater. On some models, they have a block heater that you plug in your electrical cord so it keeps your engine warm and stops it freezing. How's that for cool?
Cool, I remember that when next time I'm in Canada.
Yep. Very handy.
With not one you get, which I won't have. I've got 2 J's here.
Cylinder heads have been reconditioned. All the shims set, or everything set ready to go, and a bolt on. We have some new head gaskets.
You're not going to use the steel ones in this one.
Oh, would you like steel head gaskets?
I don't know, just put it. Oh, cool, we're going to double out the head gaskets, are we?
We're going to put the steel shim VVTi, so we might just have a comparison and show where it's got the oil gallery for the VVTi that sticks out. It's that one, I think. Yeah, I think it's that one.
Yeah, it's that one.
It's that one, eh? That will hang out the side. Put it around the right. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, so it's that one there will hang out the side, so we'll show that. Do you want to get it up the right way so we can...
Is the oil pump been primed?
I wouldn't trust that it's been primed, so we will prime that. Basically, we're going to go over and just check, double check everything. There's a whole lot of parts that have been away, they've been serviced, they've been cleaned, there's been powder coating, there's been vapor blasting.
look like it's in prime. What?
Move your head. See what happens when you get a man who works on these things that are straight line, all the cylinders are in a straight line. That happens. There are no JZs in this workshop.
What's that then?
We don't work on JZs. We do not work on JZs.
That looks like a JZ to me. Hang on. If you look down there, pretty sure if you look down there, scissor box, it's 2JZ.
Right, we'll get this flipped over and set some heads in place. And we'll got to check the scissor gears. Has the oil pump actually been primed?
No, I don't think so.
No, okay, we'll prime that too. Would you like to prime it now?
Well, I'll just have a look.
Let's prime it now while we can just flick it over.
There's a little bit of oil on there, but it's not. Not speaking of it.
Okay, so you prime that oil pump. Oh, looks good. Okay, the other thing we've got, and I want just to think about, which I haven't got a complete solution, is the idler. Yeah, it's been sitting on the old yellow for ages while I've been looking at it, considering. Look, what I've got here, Jace, is I've got the bracket from a 3UZ Crown. Don't run a hydraulic power steer pump. They run an electric rack. And it doesn't actually fit a non-VVTi.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. Who would have thought? We got to modify it. What do? We modify stuff. So, when it fits onto Old Yeller here, it's been hanging out on Old Yeller for a while, it kind of sits like so, because this engine runs air conditioning, but no power steer, because the engine sits in the back. The bolt-up points on the head are actually, well, this is a 3UZ, but it's got the 1UZ VVTi pump on it, not a 3UZ pump, and they bolt differently on the studs. So we use the 3UZ bolt-up points. So I think we're going to end up doing some welding there, but I'll put that on your list once it's sort of sitting in place and we've got belts on an air conditioning pump. So we can measure up the lengths of our belts stuff. So this one had big grooves down the bores. And is now looking much, much better. Probably should find some dowels for you, eh? Find some dowels. So I made a stuff up. You might notice that in the background, a few things have changed. Maybe I'm wearing a different shirt. But we were shooting the video for assembling this engine. And I did a section on the head gaskets. And I came to edit it, and it's in time lapse. So it's got me going this way and that, and I'm pointing stuff out. And it actually, I know what I'm talking about, but no one else would. So I thought I'd better come back, and on the rare, this is one of the rare occasions that I reshoot. Normally I take the footage that I've got, and I run with it. So I really, really want the videos to be why we're actually doing it, of the real job. That's kind of what I'm aiming for. But this bit I think is important. So I'm going to try and remember what I was saying when we were putting this engine together and explain about these steel head gaskets and what's going on and how they fit. So I use a lot of these steel head gaskets, and I find that they're fantastic, even when you're doing an NA engine. And for the little bit extra, they're well worth it. I'm using the genuine multi-layered steel 1UZ VVTi gaskets. I actually have a video too. I've got a 3UZ and a 1UZ VVTi gasket set, and we're going to pull them apart and do a comparison of them as well. We're not using the block we were putting together. I'm going to use our substitute block. This one had a little bit of an incident, just a small incident. So on the gaskets, we've got the left and the right gaskets, and even though the cylinder heads are the same, the gaskets are different, and it's to do with the oil feeds and water feeds going to the top of the engine, or going to the cylinder head. We've got this big drain, big egg-shaped drain. If I put it on like that, see, it fits nicely, but it's the wrong side. The little tag is meant to be at the back. Doesn't help I pulled the dowels out of this one. And you'll notice I'll put it on the right, there we go, that's better. I'm also standing behind the engine because I don't want you to get confused over left hand and right hand. This is the left hand. This side is the right hand. So when you put your gaskets on, these markers should be at the back. This is the left hand. See, we got an L there now, left hand. Here's our oil feed, up to the head, up to the cylinder head, comes through the block here. I have done a video on that. And the water holes, you can see the big holes are right down here, at the back of the head, at the bottom, or at the outside edge. That's where the biggest holes are. And as we move forward, the water holes are smaller and smaller. These are drains back to the block. If I was to put this on the wrong side, as I said, it does fit, but it stuffs your water flow. Okay, so your water flow is now at the front of the head, and you're going to have overheating problems at the back. Yes, I have seen this when guys do engines and they put the heads on wrong, and they fight with overheating problems because the gaskets are in the wrong place and water flow will go the wrong way. Get your head gaskets on the right way. Very, very important. So the left hand gasket has the pokey out bit in the middle, and the gasket on the other side, the right hand, has it on the outside edge. And again, we've got the water flow. Look at these water flow holes. Back here, there's your big hole, there's your big hole, another one at the top. So your water flows through the block to the back before it comes, most of it comes into the head. There's some further forward, which are restricted, but the biggest ones come through at the back. This is VVTi, gaskets poking out there, and non-VVTi. It's my non-VVTi. Here's Joey. That's the left hand. And there's the right hand. The gasket sets come with the composite gaskets normally. So I'll put them aside and change in the steel head gaskets. These ones are a bit easier because they do have right and left written on them. So we put the gasket on. We can see we've got the right poking out the back here. We've got the oil feed to the head here. So there's our oil feed to the head. Again, water restricting holes, all very similar. But we have this little bit here that's left over. And that would normally be the oil supply to the VVTi. On the non-VVTi, it's just going along for a ride. It's not going to cause you any problems. It's not going to get in the way. You don't have to cut it off. Just leave it there. It's not going to be an issue. And exactly the same on the other side. Just very carefully sit it on there. we have the L poking out in the middle. There's our water feeds. There's our oil feed to the cylinder head. And there's what was the VVTi oil feed. I use a heap of these 1UZ VVTi steel multi-layer gaskets, multi-layer steel gaskets, and they're fantastic. Really good to use and very, very well priced. And I normally keep them in stock for other guys who want them. So looking at that just very quickly, if you were putting a VVTi head on a non-VVTi block, there's no oil flow to the VVTi on that cylinder head. So that's going to cause problems. And the other one, if you're going the other way, if you're putting a non-VVTi head onto a VVTi block, there's an oil feed that needs to be blocked up. It's not actually going to do anything. So that is quite a simple process. Just drill and tap it, put a fitting in it, it's job done. Interesting little fact I came across the other day. The VVTi crankshafts are considerably lighter than the non-VVTis. And that's one of the things these stock car boys are using to make them rev harder, because there's less reciprocating mass. Lighter internals for an NA engine is going to make them rev better, but you still got to make them strong. Hope that was helpful. Now let's go back to the proper video and finish assembling this engine. Head gaskets in the right place. Check. Oil feed's good. Head's clean. Check. There's a whole lot of dots on these valves. There. I really don't want these falling off, eh? What's the correct torque setting? 2? 2 ugga-duggas?
You're supposed to give it.
No good.
No, but it's still 2 will be fine.
2 will be fine. Yeah.
Come over the road, didn't you?
One down. We probably should put all the head studs in, but I'll get the other head ready and sit it on. Then we'll lift the cams out so we can actually get at the head studs. It's still actually got the lock screws in for the scissor gears that we put in when it went in. I'm missing one exhaust stud, so I'll grab one of them for you. I think it's yours now. I'll get you a clean tray. And I've got torque settings. I've actually got the settings for bolts when they're not identified, whether it's a 4, by the markings on top of them. Crap that I've got. And transmission torque. Probably not what you want, eh? And there's the proper one.
Camshaft's in the way.
Yeah, the camshaft's in the way. You've got to lift the cams out. Then you've got to retime the cams. And then you've got to put the cams back in. Do the head studs up, because they're underneath. Actually, it's going to say here. It says here. There's a note on here. Tighten bolts to specification in sequence. See Fig 12. I don't have Fig 12, but Fig 12 is like a circular. The head studs, normal head stud motion. 29, foot-pounds, 29 foot-pounds, and then 90 degrees. I'll get your tracing, do one side at a time. I've actually still got the lock screws in here, so would make it a little bit easy. Oh, wait. No. No, this one's just floating, it's not doing anything. So we'll need to preload those cams, which is perfect because I want to do a video on preloading cams. Is that one preloaded? Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so in the scissor gears, so of course if you've got two gears, they'll clack, 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 clack.
Yeah.
Sound like a tractor. So you've got these spring-loaded gears in here, and you twist it, shove the bolt in. And then once you've got it in place, you take the bolt back off and these two will pop. I'll rotate. I could probably, because I've got those other gears, give them a little twisty twist. Funnily enough, because of that, I couldn't turn the engine over and insert the service bolts for doing the cam gears. Funny enough, when that was jammed solid on the crankshaft. This is fantastic light.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So then we go on here like this. You can see these rock back and forth, but then you can actually, there's a spring in there, so you can apply spring load. So normally there's a, you just get in that top one here. And you normally bring it around and there's a hole there. So you can actually see the hole, and that's where you put your service bolt in. So that's how it all loads up. And of course when it pops out, it can only go back that much, well less than that. It can go back that much, and it stops the preload, it stops the chatter. Same as 4A FEs from 1990, which was when UZs were out. Funnily enough, you know. And 3S's, how many of them in the world? Zillions. So Jace has dropped all the cam caps out, kept them in order because they're matched to the cylinder head. Absolutely matched.
Yep, definitely kept them in order.
They're also marked up.
Yeah.
3 Ugga Duggers?
This is on pussy sitting.
Oh yes, that's it.
So it actually,
I just got told about that actually. Hayden told me about it. I didn't know that was.
I've told you about that.
Oh, I wasn't listening to you. Why would I listen to you?
So don't worry guys, this is not tight. This is finger tight.
And then he will go through and he will torque them up to the specification.
Oh, that's fucking...
What are they?
Show you.
29 foot-pounds, 39 Newton meters. And it happens to be the same at...
I know, I can't do that. My torque wrench doesn't go down that far, it goes down to 40.
40 foot-pounds?
Newton meters.
40 Newton meters is close enough. 1 Newton meter. You'll be just fine. And then he...
There's a fucking degree thing on it.
And then he can either mark it, and he actually, I would prefer if he goes through and just puts a dot, bang, bang, bang on them. Even if you use a degree wheel, because you can go through and recheck them. He's going to confirm the scissor gears, check they're good. This one still has a service bolt in it, so we might be okay on that one, but he will check that. Give them another bit of a clean, and they go.
Those foot-pounds. No, we're in foot-pounds. What foot-pounds was it?
29. 29 foot-pounds. Pounds feet. What are you at?
35. 40. I can do peak. So you can...
So you just bring it around and it'll just... Cool.
That's a problem. Right.
.1. Perfect. That's awesome. And then it's got degrees on it as well.
Yep.
So you can just crank it around and it gives you the degrees. Wicked. That's handy. Alright. Enjoy, I'll see you soon. Chase has been popping through and he's torqued all the heads down. And you'll see here, there's the little red mark, which I just wiped off. But he uses that to confirm that he has checked and moved all of those head bolts the correct 90 degrees. Set the cams in. It has the service bolt, so the scissor gears fitted. And he will line up the cams correctly on a single dot to single dot in here, and the same on that side. We'll assemble the front and time it up. I've done plenty of videos of slamming cam belts on these, putting water pumps on, all that crap. So we're not going to see that too much. We're going to get it done, less time on the video, more time putting it together. But we'll do a couple of little updates of important stuff as we go through. Noisy bugger over there. Heaps of the parts for this engine have been away, and they went over to Waikato vapor blasting, or Collins profile cutting, where we get the profile cutting done, and have been vapor blasted. We then wrap them up in cellophane to keep them nice and clean, but I'm going to go through and check them and clean them again. Check there's no residue at all on them from the vapor blasting, and then I'm going to paint them in a clear lacquer. We're working on starter motors. This is the little 1.4 kilowatt that was fitted, and we're putting the big 2 kilowatt starter back in. And Jace asked me how long to make the start trigger, and I said long enough that it fits into that. But it turns out that that's not even going back on. He has to build a new one. Do you understand? See that there? See that there?
Yeah.
There's a new one, new computer in the office for you to wire.
Right, okay.
G4X. We're taking the dinosaur off it, which is actually still not a bad ECU for someone. And you're taking that whole lot and you're filing it and building a new one.
Cool.
A little bit of an update. So the start trigger just needs to go up here somewhere, because I think we're going to come across virtual here. Here's our wiring loom, virtual across here. We're going to whip down there and down. Did I tell you we're not putting the leads back on it either?
I've gathered that, which is cutting and taking the radio housings off.
That'll be it, eh? Yeah, that's correct. So we're putting coil on plug, G4X, probably put an oil temp sensor in it, and getting rid of all that.
Oh, now it comes out.
New nuts.
Oh, look. Finally, you're used to the V and the V8. Saw your parts.
Dots are good there. Dots are good there. Perfect. Perfect.
Crank spanner right too.
Perfect.
I put silicone on this, eh?
Absolutely, those gaskets absolutely need silicone on there.
For the bolts?
We are kidding. How about new ones? So you don't put silicone on the gaskets unless the block's really ugly, where you might put a little bit on. Like we've done here, we just used a little bit of 518 Loctite because the block has got a little bit of corrosion in there, so just giving it a bit of a backup. Brand new bolts. I was going to sort that for you. I can sort that for you. Presses into there. No heater circuit. And the crossovers had the heater welded. So O-ring, and then press it in. It goes well in. And then a little tiny drill and a little tiny self-tapping screw just so it won't ever come out. Does it help when you have all the information?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. They're actually not too bad, but I'd hate for them to leak. And you only have to do the bottom ones because the top ones are oil. Yep, no, wait, stop, wait. Definitely accept all, yep. Yep, work. Ooh. Oh, I'm actually going to adjust that one. Because I don't want it on the tight side. I want them right in the middle. Okay, we'll come back to that one there. Nick, this one, yep. Good. So wait, what is this size here? Alright, we're okay. Bring it around to this one again.
I feel like that's reasonably good compression.
When we had some air down there, it had some massive ring seal. That one's definitely too tight. Right, okay, so I've got to find the exhaust sort of setting now.
So.
More than the inlet. When we've got to adjust that one. I've got the tool, so we'll pop that out. And I'm going to have to find my shims.
I'm not pulling this thing at the top of your face again.
Jace is a little bit grumpy. We were trying to put it together and we had a little incident. And somehow, when it was at the machine shop, they ended up with a spare collet.
They don't go into the valve spring.
And that collet had found its way under a valve spring, which we diagnosed. It wasn't suitable language to have it on camera, mainly from him. And over lunchtime, he whipped it apart. We put some air down the cylinder. We popped that spring off, extracted it, all fine. And I think it's bounced from another job while I've been working on it at the machine shop, or it got caught up with a spring, whatever. We've sorted it. And this is what doing proper checking when you're assembling, you catch these problems. So they're not really a problem. Next we're going to set some tappets, and he thought he'd have to pull the cams out again. I happen to have the proper tools for extracting the shims without pulling the cams out, Jason.
Well done.
Okay?
Yeah,
like I had the special tool for popping the...
Where's your shims though?
Yeah, that is a question.
Got you on that one.
The shims went away with this engine, and they didn't come back with this engine, and they were couriered back to me, and I've put them somewhere safe. I've got a small sample. We're okay. I've got a small sample. We'll be fine. So we've just checked the inlet tappet settings, clearances, valve clearances, and you'll notice Jace was turning. I was just popping the feeler gauges through. That's the really quick way for us to do it. I'll do a proper video one day. It's not going to be today on setting tappets. Holding you up.
Yep.
I know. But I did help solve those problems over there, and we did solve problems. So anyway, we've now got this engine going together. We have an assembly that now rotates like it should. It's lovely. And we will continue assembling it up. I did run over the tappets. And I have the special tools there for opening the popping the shims out. Basically what you do is you get it like so. You do it with one hand, and it's quite tricky. So you get in here and you use these pliers and you whip around like so, and it pushes the bucket down, and then you put this little tool in and it holds the bucket down, and you can remove the shim. You know, I've got powder coated rocker covers for this.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether I clean a set of rocker covers and we put a set of rocker covers on it, or we put the proper ones on, so it's done once and forever, and we wire it on a different engine. We do the wiring on old yellow, and then we'll swap it onto this one. It's kind of what I'm thinking.
That's what yellow's for, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
You wrap this up into a big condom and
Yeah.
place it away. And
We've got the big starter in, all the fronts timed, all the new bits in there. Intake manifold, eh?
sure.
And serviced injectors.
Ooh.
Oh.
Spanky.
Yep. Remind me to... Oh, we can just change it over. We'll fire it up on old yellow's 12 tooth, and then we'll swap it over to that one. So I don't have to actually change it, I'll just change the trigger settings. And we only need the one cam sensor.
Man.
No. Oh, we can just sit them there now. But we'll do them in the morning, eh?
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Magical no sealant. I didn't put them in because when we turned it upside down they would have fallen out. Starting to look like an engine. It must have started its life as a crown, because it's got the crown engine mount with the little shock absorber on it.
It's not a crown anymore.
It's not a crown anymore. Alright, I think we'll call it a night, eh?
Your choice for a interesting choice for a vehicle that it is.
That's right. Yep.
So have you ordered the bump sticks for it?
No, it's not getting bump sticks. Just a nice standard rebuild with some ARP, LS1 rod bolts and ACL race bearings, new rings. No turbos. No. That would solve the exhaust manifold problem.
Yeah.
So we have an engine going together. With this one, gone through, we're trying to put all the right washers and screws and bolts in the right places, put it back to the way it should be. And then make it better.
So it becomes it.
So we just about should have at this point. So I had...
We're going to take them out.
Yeah, you're very good at taking them out. Yep.
Put them back in again.
Yep. We had all these vapor blasted by Collins Profile Cutting or Waikato Vapor Blasting over in Hamilton. And I sent the wrong housing. I sent this housing in. I thought that one would be the one. Well, it actually welded up the bleed port. Something to do with an aftermarket intake manifold. So I thought, oh, that's all right. We'll just pop down and I'll get another one and I'll acid it and yeah, nah. Yeah, can't do it. No. Fortunately, Alan looks after us a bit, so that's going to go over and get blasted and tidied up. It's really tempting just to slam a housing on and make it work, but I just can't do it. It's got to be right. It's got to look neat. It's got to look tidy. We're also going to chat just very quickly about the oil pumps. This is the pump that came off it. So that's a non-VVTI early pump. And this is the pump that went back onto it. So this is a late VVTI oil pump. Or a 3UZ. So that's a late pump. We've actually put the late trigger wheel on it as well. And when I went to slide this fella in, it wouldn't. It would sit like this. Just would not go in. And the difference is, now, so these are different part numbers. The late ones are easy to get hold of. The early ones are much more expensive and are quite a lot harder to get hold of, often, especially over here in New Zealand. So there's been some discussions on the fact that they're different part numbers. It's just cosmetic. The changes are nothing that is going to affect the operation of the pump at all. And one of the differences is right here, you'll see that there's nothing, there's no moulding there. But on this one, there's a moulding. So I took a drill, put the hole through there like that, used it as a file. I'm not admitting to doing that. And now, that just slides straight in. So that solves that problem. So for the guys that go on that you can't use a late oil pump on an early engine because they're a different part number, it's not true. This is an early engine with a late oil pump. Now to put some covers on, some accessories on, moving forward. And where possible, I've used a heap of new bolts. I just couldn't really put this one back in. I couldn't do it. These covers, because we bought a quality gasket set, all these rubber seals are also new, which is really nice. They fit up nice. We've got an engine and it's looking pretty good. Down the front's been done. Gone is the hydraulic fan pump, replaced with an idler. Gone is the old alternator, round plug, replaced with a brand new small body oval plug, or rectangle plug. Of course, I'm going to get that housing blasted. That's going to go away. I want it to look like this one, but with the bleeder on it. Intake manifold is on, and that's been powder coated. It's looking just lovely. I've done fuel returns and fuel rails and crossovers. Exhaust gasket is sitting on with the nuts ready to go. This one, the brake booster. We're actually going to use the proper brake booster fitting. I've got this blanker on for the moment. while we're setting it up. This vehicle had the brake booster line attached to there, to the idle speed control unit. So the idle speed control unit's gone, replaced with a 2-wire idle speed. We have a fuel pressure sensor, and in the throttle body we've already got a air temp sensor fitted. So I haven't put the little blanket for there, so we'll have to get one of them machined up, ready to do it. Been putting lots of new nuts on it. A lot of these nuts are new, and I'm just about out of them. I'm going to run out on this job, so I'll have to get some more. This tube, the hard one's gone. Nice soft one with a new PCV valve. Dipstick sitting in place with a new O-ring. Oil level sensor has been blanked off. The plan today was I was going to clean some parts and I was going to hand them to Jace. Jace was going to spanner them onto the engine. Our day didn't quite go to plan, but he's just got this one going, that JZ that isn't in the workshop. He scurried off and fluffed around with that and made it run, which is just awesome to hear that one go. So even though I was left doing this all on my own, and I was actually helping him with his job for a little bit, it's really nice to have both these jobs well underway. I'm going to clock off this and I'm going to hand it over, tag Jason in. He's going to work out a way to put spark plug seals into powder coated tappet covers. I'll probably give them a clean. He's going to sort out oil pressure. So he's going to sort out this little issue here. This one goes to the dash, but we want one to go into the link. And we're going to use a combined oil pressure, oil temp sensor. We've been using a little Bosch unit. As I said, both oil pressure and oil temp. It'll run back to the link. This one on the engine here will still do the gauge. And that'll allow us to monitor it with the link. So we know if anything goes wrong, we can monitor and check it, check oil temps, all those sorts of things. Things like the oil temp sensor's been replaced. It's also going to have a fuel pressure sensor on this one. So we can check if anything goes wrong with the fuel system, it'll come up on the link and we'll know what's going wrong. Jace has also got the idler unit to sort out because this one runs air conditioning and doesn't run a power stair pump. So I'm going to leave that for Jace to sort. He can spend a day doing all those sorts of things. And it's going to be at least a day of just organising, drilling holes, sorting things out, putting them in the right place, making sure that everything's right, possibly fabricating some holes onto that bracket. Crank sensors on this one, things that I've done, is the crank sensor's new, the cam sensor's new. With Jace doing all those other little bits and pieces, we'll then be ready to get in and wire this thing up. Oh, leads. That thing thrown away. We're not getting leads, we're putting a set of coils on it. So we've got to prep for that as well and get them ready. So there's a little bit to do there, sorting it all out. I've done things like the fuel line. That just had a barb. It had like a joiner into the rubber hose, and I've cut it back to the barb. One of the rules we use in our workshop is if it looks tight, then it's tight. And that's why you could see when I wiggled the fuel line, it's obviously loose. So you don't leave anything like nipped up but finger tight. You do it up properly, or you leave it obviously loose. And that's why we can swap between people working on a job like this. We work in pretty close proximity anyway, so we know what each other's doing. So I'm going to tag Jason now. He's going to do those last little bits and pieces, and then we'll come back onto this together and we'll run some wires and work out the wiring loom. It'll be wired on old Yella, and that'll be popped in here. And there's been discussions over the day of how we intend to wire it. And That's pretty normal. We do a bit of planning, bit of sorting. Of course, I sorted that oil pump too today, which was pretty handy. We've got a big box of leftovers and spares and stuff that's been replaced. We've still got a clutch and adapter plate to fit back onto this engine. Stuff like this, when we've been going through it, I've got to confirm that I've got some ARP bolts for it. Of course, when we're assembling engines, a lot of places don't have a whole lot of part numbers and boxes of gaskets and a whole lot of new nuts and bolts for UZs. New ones, banjo fittings, source bolts, the normal nuts, I've used all of them. So it makes it a lot easier to put it back to as standard as and use the correct bolts where we can. And for overall fun, we end up with all these spares. Not reusing exhaust nuts. Oh, that's another job for Jace. He's got to sort out the exhaust manifolds. So it did have a set of proper flywheel bolts in this one. But we're going to upgrade and put some ARPs in there. The clutch pressure plate bolts are definitely getting upgraded. We're not going to use those. We're going to put proper twin turbo Supra pressure plate bolts in it. So that's the spares left over. Hey Jace, you're up.
What am I up to?
Tag, you're it. Push spark plug seals in without wrecking the powder coating.
No.
You know why I say that for you, eh? Fix the exhaust leak. Fix the exhaust leak somehow.
Manifolds.
Well, they're modified though to fit the chassis.
What about those headers?
Set of those?
Yeah.
I think they're still modified to fit the chassis.
Just those are flat.
Yep. And our spark plugs in it, please, and coils, and sort this fella, because I don't think shrink wrap's going to work.
Probably should have that hole welded up while you're...
Probably should have, eh? Or get a little bung machined. If you get a little bung machine, make 10 of them. Oh, and oil pressure. Instructions for Jace. Very good. And well done on the vehicle that is not in the workshop, that we shall not speak about.
Well, this one that runs.
That runs. You've done very, very well.
This one.
We're a UZ workshop. We don't work on JZs, Jace. We've had our unit sent away for a little bit of a modification, and we've got another belt for it. And we're going to attempt, Jace, we need a couple more millimeters. I don't think whatever you do, it's not going to reach. I'll go get plan B.
You're going to get plan B.
C, D, E.
LMNOP.
Has your oil filter housing? And that oil filter housing now has an oil pressure, oil temperature sensor on it. We might show how to get 3 temperatures into a monsoon that only has 2 temperature inputs. So I've got a brand new bearing for the top, and I've got the smaller tensioner bearing unit, but that will foul on the inside in here. So it fouls down in here. So with the pulleys all fitted up, and this one bolted on, the late model 3UZ tensioner pulley assembly, we have the belts on that look like that. There's something missing, and it's called the wires, but that's for the next video. You look tasty. Little bit little yet.